first 5 years of my, after college for me, were spent in New York as a journalist. I worked over at the top of the town column for the New Yorker. And my boast at one point was that I'd gotten out on every subway stop in New York City, which is a lot. And you know, it makes me sad to, you know, I don't like thinking of, you know, the great pine forests of British Columbia getting wrecked by pine bark beetles. And I don't like thinking of the New York subway system, one of the great wonders of the world, getting swamped by seawater either.
We have time for 2 more questions.
From the Alternatives Journal, and we're wondering what we can do to help.
So, jump into this. I mean, Canadians have more leverage per capita than anybody on earth probably right now. I mean, because you've got an immense amount of carbon. The tar sands in Alberta are the second biggest pool of carbon on earth. And B, you've got a certain amount of freedom to do something about it. Like Saudi Arabia is the biggest pool of carbon on earth, but frankly, it's probably not a good idea to, you know, go organize very strenuously in Saudi Arabia. You know? So you guys can do an unbelievable amount. If you can slow down, even for a couple of years, the tar sands, you know, the pipelines to the tar sands, 2 or 3, 4 years from now, the world is going to have woken up to the point where people are going to say, this makes no sense at all. But if all those pipelines are in there and all that investment gets made, it's going to get pumped anyway. So the work to be done in the next couple of years is really, really key. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is this kind of structural work I was talking about. If you're on a campus or belong to some other institution, figure out how to put financial pressure on the fossil fuel industry. Shouldn't be investing anymore in these companies. They're rogue companies. They're outlaw companies. And if they're wrecking the planet, then there's no moral way to be making money off of them, even if you're spending the money on good things like college scholarships.
So what do you think is the greatest obstacle to this lack of mainstream knowledge? Do you think it's the nascent sort of nature of this movement, so like a lack of social advocacy, or is it like the corporations and the lobbyists?
I think it's mostly the corporations and the lobbyists, and I do think that despite them, people are figuring out what's going on. The new polling data in the US is quite remarkable. We're up to 74% of people think the planet is warming, and only 12% think that it isn't, okay? So that's pretty remarkable. I mean, you know, in America, if you do a poll, 50% of people still believe that Elvis is alive. You know, it's like this is more agreement than you normally get on things, and that's very good news. It's just that what the oil companies have done so effectively is, and very strategically and very explicitly, tried to plant just enough doubt in people's minds to keep them from really acting. You know, it's like, yeah, but maybe it's, you know, natural cycles, or, you know, I've heard some scientists say it wasn't true. Since it's a hard thing that we have to do, since it involves change from all of us, you know, we naturally look for excuses not to act. But I think the key thing is to kind of isolate the fossil fuel industry. You just keep saying, these guys are bad actors now. Not always, you know, 50 years ago or something. I mean, there was no moral opprobrium attached to being a fossil fuel company. Fossil fuel can do good, you know, has done good stuff in our world in certain ways, okay? But now that we know the science of climate change, it clearly is the worst thing we could possibly be doing. And the part that really galls me, that I think we need to just keep reminding everybody, is it's not like they're putting on the brakes even. I mean, Exxon spends $100 million each day exploring for new gas and oil, even though we already have far more than we can possibly burn. What's with that? It's just like a complete declaration of, we don't give a damn. What we're interested in is another few years of making money at the same pace we're making it now. And if that takes down the planet, oh well. Somehow we've got to get that message firmly into people's heads. And if we do, then things that now seem politically impossible will seem much more politically plausible very fast. That's what we gotta hope anyway. And as I say, I don't know if we can do it in time, but I'm way more encouraged now than I was a year ago at the possibilities. There'll be plenty of setbacks when, even if Barack Obama wins re-election, we may lose the Keystone fight in the US, whatever. But at least we started it and got some of this other stuff kind of kicked off and going. And we'll see.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for being an inspiration to all of us.
Well,
Thanks, Dan.
it's
Yep.
fun, and it really is, the other truth is just, very obvious, I sort of said it tonight, youth are leading this fight all over the world, which in some ways just makes complete sense. I mean, I've got 25 years of lucky, left around. You guys got another 60 or 70, so it really behooves you to make sure the last 40 don't completely suck. And so that's good. But it's also, the other thing that makes it really good, and the thing that I've really loved since we started 350, and I've learned an immense amount about, is that everybody I work with is half my age, like Linda, and they're all, you guys are all have a kind of visceral understanding of connection around the world because you grew up in the web in a way that I did. And it's not that it's not that we're just going to send each other email petitions and that's going to turn the tide. It's not. We have to do things in the real world, maybe more than ever in the real world. But the kind of visceral sense of being connected easily to each other around the world is almost the only real wild card we've got in this battle, and we've got to play it for all it's worth, which is why I love, if you just go look at 350.org, you kind of page through the Flickr account, you have 40,000 pictures of people all over the world taking part in these demonstrations and things, and it's completely amazing to see who they are and what they look like. The biggest canard about all of this that I've heard over and over and over again, the biggest lie, is the notion that this is something that rich white people do when they've taken care of their other problems. And if one had to worry where your next meal was coming from, you wouldn't be an environmentalist and so on. In our experience, it just isn't true. Most of the people we work with around the world are poor, black, brown, Asian, young, because that's what most of the world is composed of, and it's really striking always to see that and to understand just how broad now the base of this fight is and getting broader all the time. It's the first, it really is. They don't call it global warming for nothing. I mean, this is the first truly global fight that human beings have ever had to take on. And maybe the internet came just in time to allow us to kind of take it on together. We shall see. Thank you all.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.